How are you doing, YouTube? It's your friendly gamer SmartEntity here. Welcome to another How I Play episode. This time we're going to look at Draco series, of course, for Red Farm. So this is one of those missions where you really cannot play by yourself because you do need a full squad to really utilize the most out of it. If nothing else, you want 4 people for the enemy spawns. Now the team, obviously, the usual team is one Rhino, 1 Trinity, 2 Excalibur. The Rhino could be replaced with Mirage with Total Eclipse, that's perfectly fine as well. Now, a bit of a background. So, you want to do this on Draco series because that is the highest level Guinea map. You can't do it on Pluto because that is a Corpus map. Corpus have those nullifiers. You can't radio javelin across the nullifier shielding, so you have to do it with Guinea, thus Draco series. Now the way that this works is after the initial setup, everybody want to be here. The initial setup basically involves you capping 2 towers and then neutralizing 1 other tower to the extent where your tenno percentage is about 1 above the opponent, i.e. you want to make this round last as long as possible, that way you can get the most out of it. So the strategy is pretty simple. Trinity will just constantly cast EV, Energy Vampire for energy, the Excaliburs will just constantly cast Radio Javelin for damage, and the Rhino will just cast Roar for a damage boost. Or if you got Mirage, you want to use Total Eclipse, and that will cover both Excaliburs again for damage boost. So the theory behind this is with these interception points and the way that the map is laid out, if all 4 players are basically centered around this area, that'll optimize enemy spawn. Enemies will always come and you can kill them as fast as you can. You definitely do not want anyone to run around the outer edges of the map because that will significantly harm enemy spawn, and as a result you won't get nearly as much rep. Now don't worry, I will talk about the modding towards the end. I'll show you guys all 3 frames modding. I'll also show off Mirage. I'll talk about it at least to basically complete the tutorial if you like. Now generally this is a fairly boring farming grinding, but in about, I haven't done the math exactly, but I'm thinking it's probably about 6-ish minutes, you can get around 4,000 to 5,000 rep. Obviously with some affinity booster. Now currently in the game, unless you're running syndicate type missions, I don't think there's any other mission type where you can get that much rep, i.e. 4,000 to 5,000 in about 6 minutes-ish. Alrighty, so we're at that sort of sweet spot. We're at 31 to 30, so that's the way it's gonna be for the next, I guess, 3-4 minutes. I'll pause the video temporarily here, and we'll get back to it later. Alrighty, so we're at the end of that particular run, so we just done 1 wave, because that's pretty much all the rep I needed for maxing my rep for the day. Now, it's actually quite funny, because what this shows is that the Excalibur got a completely wrong build. The damage distribution should be about 50-50 between the 2 Excaliburs, so I got over 91%, which means the other Excalibur's build is just wrong. So from that, we basically got 5,500 rep, which is pretty decent. It's, normally you're looking at about 5,000-ish or 4,000 to 5,000, so 55 is definitely reasonable. And now we'll have a look at the build of each Warframe. Okay, so here's the build for Excalibur. Now, as far as the aura goes, it doesn't matter that much. We're going to use, if you really want to get into the nitty gritty of it, you can use something like corrosive projection to help a bit with armor reduction, but other than that, it doesn't really matter that much. The key mods that you must absolutely have are overextended and stretch. If you don't have these mods, which is probably what the other Excalibur's issue was, you will not get anywhere because you won't even hit the enemies. So once you have these basic mods, you need to start adding your strength mods. So you want to add your Intensify, Transient Fortitude, and Blind Rage. Intensify is very easy to get rank 5, no issue there. And Transient Fortitude and Blind Rage, they are both rank 10 mods, so you may not be able to max them, but even if you get it to about rank 8 for each of them, it should do a decent job, but otherwise max it if you can. So other than the core mods, strength is your second priority. After the second priority, you're looking at efficiency, because if you don't have the energy, you can't cast it. Now this is extremely important if you are in a squad with a not so good Trinity. Now in the previous run, the Trinity was doing an okay job, always supplying enough energy, and obviously with these mods, it does help, but if you have an energy that If you have a Trinity that's not good enough at supplying you energy, then these mods become even more important. Now, Flow I like to have on there because you have that energy reserve. It allows you to cast Radio Javelin even when you are short of energy for a period of time. There's not much point having your survivability mods or things like Redirection and Vitality because no enemies should get that close to you anyway. Now, interestingly enough, with Trinity, it's the exact same build. Surprise, surprise. So again, we want to optimize your range first. Without these two mods, it's just not going to work because you need to hit the enemy with EV and you need to make sure EV reaches the other player. So you need Stretch and Overextender. These are your base mods. Once you got that achieved, you want to make sure you got your, again, Strength mods, because the higher the amount of strength, the greater the energy you supply to your allies. So you want Intensify, Blind Rage, and Transient Fortitude. After that, you want to again maximize your efficiency so you can cast these abilities as much as you can. Now, obviously, the modding or the polarities I have here isn't built for red farm, so I have a reverse D for survivability. If you do have the correct modding, you can put something like Flow here, or you can put something else. It doesn't really matter that much, but these are your core mods. And finally, for Rhino, again, we want to optimize power strength as much as we can, so we want to chuck in Transient Fortitude, Intensify, as well as Blind Rage. But unlike the other Warframes, we won't have to worry about range, because if you're doing it correctly, all 4 Warframes should be in very close proximity, overlapping if possible. In that sense, you won't even need Stretch, but I will put Stretch in there because 1, you do need to account for people that like to be a bit apart, and 2, there's not that many other essential mods we need on there. Other than that, we will put in full Streamline. We won't worry about fleeting expertise, because if the Trinity is supplying the Excaliburs enough energy to cast Radio Javelin, then there should be more than enough energy for Rhino to cast Roar. Because, again, with Roar it's a duration thing, so we want to optimize duration with Constitution and Continuity, so in that sense, we won't have to cast Roar nearly as often as the Excalibur is casting Radio Javelin, so in that sense, we should have more than enough energy, and we'll put in Flow in there for a bit of energy reserve. Now, lastly, I will quickly talk about Mirage, even though I don't really have the correct polarities to do a proper Mirage build, but the theory is it works off Total Eclipse, and the way that works is once you are in the shadow, in the light, all your allies will benefit from Total Eclipse, assuming they are within 5 meters range. Now, the way that you want to optimize this, of course, is with power strength and possibly duration and or energy efficiency. So your first priority would be something like Blind Rage, Intensify, and Transient Fortitude. Again, I won't bother with the build because I don't have enough mod capacity points or the correct polarities to do that. But other than that, you want to put in your Blind Rage, Transient Fortitude, as well as your Intensify. You can put in Streamline for power efficiency. Like Rhino, I probably wouldn't worry too much about fleeting expertise because like Roar, it depends on duration, so you can optimize things like Constitution and Continuity. So in other words, the build is pretty much exactly like Rhino. So we'll take out Redirection, put in Transient Fortitude, take out Vitality, put in Intensify, take out Narrow-Minded, and put in Flow. And the only difference between this and Rhino is we're using Total Eclipse instead of Stretch.